Welcome to the Strenuous Life Radio, the podcast for leaderpreneurs, entrepreneurs, men and women, learn the essentials and soft skills of the strenuous life. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. The title of this episode is called The Funk versus Justice. And that covers a huge time swath period. No doubt, right? But it's going to lead to more pearls as the series goes along. Are you ready? This search had been going on for about 10 months at this point. April of 2000. And Mrs. Castro was getting quite impatient with quite a few of the students who didn't seem to be putting that much effort. Then it was about maybe a few weeks out before finals. Now, she didn't know about Keith. But on April 18th of 2000, it's like Keith came riding into the rescue. His first night with me, we were talking and playing some table games when I got a call. And one of my classmates, we'll call her Rita, she was telling me that Mrs. Castro was discovering that students were skipping class and not putting forth their best effort. And Mrs. Castro was very upset. Well, guess what? That made me very upset. Before long, I'm opening up to Keith about everything. About how a part of me had died in the inner city of Arlington, Texas. But over that week that he stayed with me, Keith showed me, he said, "Man, Jimmy, the best thing you could have done was gotten out of there. Now I realize she broke your heart, but she's not good for you, man. She got you there in Central Arlington where you were doing bad things and getting involved in bad things, and now look at you. You're taking those paralegal courses and everything. You're doing good things." She was just, "I'm sorry, Jimmy, I know you loved her, but she just wasn't right for you." But nestled in that, even with Keith's help, there was this constant struggle. Because from July 1999 to April 2000, I would often enter into these funks. And so because of that, I began telling Keith how, in many ways, I wanted to be joined to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Now, I knew one person who was going to be fighting me on this for a tooth and nail. That was Brad. Now, that being said, with Keith there, that April, Brad was conciliatory. He tried to invite Keith and me to church together. But number one, Keith was a pretty big guy with a lot of health problems. It was a big church, and I just didn't think that he could really walk all those distances with me to do things. Okay, so here's the thing. By March, April of 2000, I was getting tired of Brad smothering me. It wasn't working. It wasn't. It's like, and at the same time, I got the idea in January of 2000 and this is a crazy idea, to apply for graduate school, getting a master's degree in political science. Now, years later, I saw what a stupid decision that was. Because the thing is, with a master's in political science, you need to know some basic calculus, pretty much, to get ahead anywhere. I wanted to go to law school instead. But Jim Bob, he and his family kind of said, well, Jimmy, that's a stupid idea. You don't even know how to dress for law school. He said that back in early 2000. Of course, 6-7 years later, I wasn't attending Texas Tech Law School. I wish I'd had. Because I walked in there, and a lot of students were wearing jeans and polos. But see, I believed Brad. But see, I believed Jim Bob. Now, Brad thought I could go to law school any day. Brad had a little bit more confidence in me, but the thing was, he was smothering my identity. And so I was in a funk. I was like, until I woke up over time to realize my ex-wife wasn't coming back. And that Keith had showed me in December of 99 that I could rebuild a good life without her. Until then, I just went around going through the motions thinking, well, my life is over. I'm angry. I hate this. But I still wanted justice. Needless to say, I put forth my best effort. And I even had an encounter with one of the students who, she'd been there the whole, she'd been in that course the whole semester, but she seemed like she didn't know what she was doing, and I was frustrated because, I was putting in the work. I was making decent grades in those courses. And why? Because I was hurting. Until I made that critical decision in February, March 2001, I was hurting. And later on in this series, you're going to hear about that critical decision. But Keith was there with me, helping me see that I didn't need life with my ex-wife to be happy. That her moving us to Central Arlington destroyed all that we'd worked towards. But Keith was there. Now, granted, I lived in Odessa, Texas. Keith lived in a suburb of Fort Worth called Hurst. So he couldn't always be with me. So oftentimes I had to fight the funk on my own. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. But, and because, to be honest with you, later on in May of 2000, yes, I studied under the missionaries the second time. The first time was in 1998 when I was married. And once again, because of Brad and Jim Bob, I backed down. And I was like, what the heck? So, you see, I had to learn to fight my own battles. I went to one more party with Brad's sets of friends. And it was, I'm not saying that there was drinking or anything involved, but it was a disaster. Reactiveness everywhere. And it was kind of like I wanted to tell Brad, leave me alone. I'm on my own search for justice. I can't just sit on my laurels and hang out with you just because you don't like some of the things I'm doing. And of course, by 2002, our friend Karen was beginning to feel the same thing about Brad. You know, kind of like, Brad, you're smothering me. We can't talk for a while. And finally, it took Keith and Jim Bob to say, Jimmy, assert yourself. Now, in June of 2000, and I really felt like I was doing this right thing, I was rebaptized in a small little Baptist church. I felt like it was a good scriptural baptism at the time. And, you know, some of Brad's friends went to the celebration, which I thought was awesome. Brad had kind of listened to his group at that point. And I was moving on. Okay, guys. Forgive me going so long. Hope you enjoy listening. If you like what you see, please subscribe and become a part of the Strenuous Life radio family. Until next time, think strong, live strong, and live the strenuous life. God bless you. And remember this, from the bottom of my heart, Jimmy loves you. I love you.